Hello, girls and boys. Welcome to another episode of one-on-one interviews. Finally, after 3, 4, or even 5 times, we managed to get together. First time a year and a half ago, my kid was born, so I was not able to travel to Istanbul. Then Ozan had to stay with injured guys in Istanbul when we played the game in Munich. After that, COVID hit, so we had to cancel the game. A couple of days ago, your schedule changed. So you had to stay with the guys in the lifting room, and finally we met on the game day to talk a little bit, so people can see that I was waiting for a long time to sit with you. I know you for a decade now because 10 years ago I came to Turkey.
Yeah.
And we met in the preseason. I can vividly remember when we sat in the lobby of the hotel and we started to talk about different things. And you surprised me with the level of knowledge you had back then, and now you have even more. And you were one of the few coaches in Turkey that was very American knowledge oriented. You spend a lot of time during summer times to educate yourself in the States, and this is something definitely that is worth mentioning later on. So I would like to start this interview by asking you a little bit about how you ended up being a strength coach, how you decided to educate yourself in that direction, and of course, how did you end up working for EFES?
Okay. First of all, thank you for invitation. It was very nice to see you and talk about these topics for also young fellas who is, trying to do this job and just maybe also a goal, to know this job. So actually this starts in the university. So when I was in university, actually in physical education and sports, one of my instructor told me that he was the American-based actually instructor, professor in the university, also is coming to our faculty to give human physiology. And then actually that moment, around like 14 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, so told me the human performances, sport performances is actually a very huge topic. I remember that when I was the first year of the university, actually, until that moment I was playing basketball, with the university team, with my friends, so I played also from 10 years to the 21. So actually that moment is give me some lights about this, and I start to study the physiology and biomechanics and then this kind of topics I interested in university, because physical education gives you this only the nature of the sports, so we are coming, but this side gives me the science, actually the behind. So after I graduated, I decided to be in a master program in a medical faculty, actually. So they didn't accept me in the first, because I was coming from the social, the science-based sciences, and then they forced me to study with the doctors 2 years to be in human physiology department as a master degree student. And then I studied. I become a successful, in that school. So I start the master program in human physiology medical faculty department in my city, where I come from, is close to capital, Ankara. Then after I finish, I was that moment, concentrating too much about this biomechanic, about the human physiology, anatomy, the functional anatomy kind of medical sciences. And more concentrating the last part to training science, actually. Step by step, But I read a lot. Actually, the first key to be, in the science is English. Because not many people, was speaking, especially in our industry, speaking English well. So because of my English is not bad, so I started reading the literature in the world and everything. Then I moved to United States, work with IXOS. Step by step, I become a strength and conditioning coach. So
Nice. And how did you end up? You have basketball background, probably through some connections, but how did you end up in EFES?
Actually, when I come back from States, first I start to work with Fenerbahce. Yeah, in that moment there was a young team there, developmental team, but playing in the first division. The name Alpella is who was sponsored to Fenerbahce also afterwards is Ülker. You know, Arena is the same name. So I started there with the young guys, and then we become successful. Then I moved to Fenerbahce senior team. I worked there also 3-4 years. Then I start to work in national team for seniors from 2009 2013, also the World Championship. You know. Then after second year, I start to work also with the ladies. You know, with the women basketball national team. So we become European second, London Olympics, and everything come up. And then I quit from Fenerbahce for some reasons, because I need to develop myself, you know, better than me. So this job gives you not much time actually. So I come and go to Europe, States, and to work and study on this job. Then FS offered me to be there, you know, as a strength conditioning coach, and I accept. And 10 years I've been working in FS. 10 years.
10 years, Baba.
10 years is not short time, so.
Yeah, definitely. Tell me a little bit about your private business, because it's something that you developed pretty much in the last years. What is the goal of your private business? What is the mission here in Turkey?
Actually, I decided to do this job 2010, because that moment in Turkey, not many places working on sports performance actually, just only fitness centers and Pilates, you know, places. But then the brand, as I know, is coming, you know, is very late. But the last year, 2 years ago, 2-3 years ago, just I have opportunity to open my own gym, my studio, PAC. So mostly we are trying to work also in my gym about the young fellas, you know, for the young developmental athletes, but also the different branches. That means, for example, we are working with the ice skaters, we are working with the tennis players, volleyball players, basketball players. Also the many different, you know, the branches, the people are coming, athletes are coming, swimmers also coming. So actually what we do there is, you know, the giving a good program to the people. More concentrating on the project base, that means the performance-based programs, you know, nutrition also. But at the same time also, we are also working for the sedentary people, business, you know, industry and everybody, so it's coming there. You know, this educational part, we are giving, the lectures, workshop for the coaches, and also the seminars. Last year I become also the techno gym educational, you know, directors and, you know, advisors also. So we are doing also some educational parts, you know, also from the techno gym side. Mm-hmm. Yeah, step by step is going like this, everything together, you know.
Perfect. So there is your private gym. As you said, you are enrolled in techno gym education and advising them for their program of probably releasing new projects. And
yeah, and also the plus, I started to do some new business also for tourism and sports actually, because what I'm doing is building a very professional and good sports team for the hotels, like animation team, entertainment team, and also making, you know, to make them sports team and better professional, you know, the background, especially trainers, gives the PTs, you know, the group session classes for the hotels who is coming for vacation.
Mm-hmm. So basically you're focused on Antalya and
Antalya, Marmaris, Bodrum, is 4-5 hotels now is working with us.
Bravo.
Step by step, yeah.
Perfect. So business is growing, and there is one more thing that I would like to touch, that is especially related to our job, and it is the education of strength and conditioning coaches in basketball, because I know that you are enrolled in the Turkish Federation educational program. Every year or almost every year you organize some kind of big seminar for young strength and conditioning coaches. They have to be certified to work in Turkish leagues, and also I know that there is an association of strength and conditioning coaches in Turkish basketball. So what you can tell us a little bit more about it? How did you come up with the idea to support the federation in the educational program and so on?
I mean, actually, every developmental country, so the Turkey is also, developing about this training sciences, because the last actually 10 years, maybe 8 years, the university is also, just developing itself about this training sciences. So the federations also, not only the basketball, maybe also the different federations, they are developing themselves about conditioning and then this sport performance. So we were thinking also with the basketball federation for a long time. So the coaches supported us, federations supported us, and then we decided to get together. And then it's very important because this is actually that everybody must know that this is the positive science. That doesn't mean that you cannot, for example, decide one day for something. And everything should be under scientific research, good programming, good coaching, and everything. And this is like a math actually. So it's very important why I'm saying this, because sometimes as coaches, they're coming from their own area. That means they were a player, they were good coaches and everything. But this science is to be a doctor actually is the same. So you cannot give, for example, one of your, member of family that, to show the doctors if you have some problems that don't have any diplomas, any certification, any base, what I mean is background weak. So is also the clubs and then federations, they need to understand this should be, under scientific rules. Based on the research, certification, education, that kind of program should be professional. So we want to also, like every maybe federation should do that, but we want to do that before that seminars and, education 1 week, that you cannot work, in one team, because we are giving you $1 million players. It's very important. So for this reason, we speak with the federation and then we want to decide, we decide this kind of program and we started, it's a new, maybe we're late, but it will be better and better every year.
Oh, you're definitely not late, because programs like yours,
you also visit and
it doesn't exist, in many countries. I know for many years that Kuzo organized something like this in Italy a long time ago, and they have their certification program, and basically from what I know, this is the only real program with the certification. Sometimes federations in some of the countries would organize a weekend or a daily seminars where strength coaches can come and listen to something, but the real certification is only now organized in Italy and here in Turkey. So I think that definitely you're not late, but you're ahead of many other countries and many other federations. So I think it's a great program, and I was lucky enough to be part of it a couple of years ago.
Thank you for coming. Also, the good information from you.
It was great, because for me, those kind of moments when I can share my knowledge, but then on the other hand, meet so many great people. Just yesterday, for example, a guy who I met there, Serhat Gunesh, I met him yesterday here for a coffee, and you never know when you can build some kind of friendship or relationship with colleagues. So this is something that I really like and I really appreciate for everything what you're doing. Let's switch gears a little bit, and we go now to the main part of the interview, where we always touch topics more related to our work, like strength, agility, conditioning, periodization, recovery, whatever. And today with you, I want to touch basically only one topic, with several questions, of course, but only one topic, and it's going to be, believe it or not, strength. But I really like your approach in strength and power. I listen to many of your lectures. Very often we present it together, so I know more or less what is your philosophy, but I would like that you explain a little bit first your philosophy, your approach when it comes to strength and power development for basketball players, because I think it's great for the audience.
Yeah, actually it's also this philosophy of these approaches as a coach, so also developed in years actually. So what I first step is what I thought in also in my career. So the principles like biomechanic, physiology, human anatomy, and training science and everything. So thousands of years maybe people work on this. So we need to understand also the basics. So before we understand the basics, so you cannot understand the methods. So generally, especially recently, social media, internet, YouTube, a lot of rubbish information actually, or just to show business. The people trying to do this one. The first philosophy is, as an audience, listening, this one is understand the basics of the principles. The basic science, because if you don't understand this one, you don't understand the methods. And then afterwards, year by year, so you start to develop your vision. You start to see a lot of cases, injuries, and a lot of type of players that some of them they are weak in one part, some of them they are not agile, some of them they are not flexible, has no flexibility or something. As you developed how to make a program, actually we do, better also than maybe this tailoring things, following the loads, the concentrating a lot of things, because just we have to calculate and we have to think a lot of parameters. So for this reason, they have to understand also. You have to understand. So the primary goals, and then this is a pyramid. So at the top of the pyramid, so what you need to do, or just the base, what you need to do. You have to understand this first. Philosophy also developed, as I said, that the many years when we think about it. So just I want to say, actually, when we give an example about the principles of the strength and conditioning, so for example, if the power is a principle in basketball, so you have to develop strength. So you have to understand the what is the based. It should be based on your program to develop strength. What is functionality and movement? What is flexibility? And then if you're trying to mix everything, so you don't have actually the good program. But just depends on the person, depends on individual, the needs. So you have to do a tailored job. It's not valid. Nothing is valid in this, as I see in this, my humble opinion, in this job. So you have to know the basic first. Create your own method. Depends on the individual. Depends on the time, and then depends on the nature of this, the periodization and everything. So you have to analyze, actually, isn't the base. Because I see that many young coaches and then, strength and conditioning coaches, they're trying to affect the players, they are trying to affect the coaches, and then, trying to show how versatile and then different variation of the movement they are actually applying to the players. But actually, no. For example, one story is about 2010. We become a world championship, the second. We played the final with United States. So what I did actually that camp is actually I do some part of the program less than other needs. For example, everybody coming to work hard. But some people came, for example, very tired, very exhausted from the season. Just analyzing this, and some players that you have to leave, some players that you have to do recovery and regeneration, and then after, for example, 20 days, they are in the best shape maybe. It doesn't mean that they work hard, do that one. Doesn't give you any, performance edge. So the analyzing the right things is very important. Mm-hmm. Your cornerstones, like a power and strength, should be first, and then you should cover and polished with, for sure, with some proprioception, little movements, some balance, some helping actually the programs also. Actually, you have to prepare like 3-4 programs at the same time to follow the correctives and proprioception and everything, movement exercises. And then the other part is main principles. You know, you have to mix the program every time, depends on the individual. I mean, you know.
Okay.
It's very hard actually in the season. With the team, you have 15 guys at least. It's possible, I mean, you know, depends on the coach, depends on the system, period. So you have to do the tailored job.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about preseason, and then we're gonna go to in-season to see the changes and evolution, or, you know, progression, regression for certain players. So let's say you start preseason end of August, for example. You have the whole September to work with the players, and you have a couple of new guys coming in, that the guys that you don't know from before. What do you do first with them regarding strength and power? I mean, this analysis and everything. What do you do? And if you can just think of one example from previous seasons, how you organize the analysis, how did his strength and power program look like in the first weeks of preseason, and then after that we can move into in-season program.
Actually, as I see, when I started to do this job, like we had a lot of times, you know, that means national team is okay, but just 2 months, 3 months, you know, they're just people, the players were coming very different level actually. But now national team, and also they care about their body and their program with the personal trainers that who know each other for a long time. And then especially high level players, they care about their body, their diets and everything. But for sure, just in the beginning, I also give advice also to the players. Like at least 10 days, 1 week or 10 days without doing anything, if no any injuries in any case to recover, you know. Just when they come, their different level. For me, actually, this is for me, is the first thing is analyzing the joints and then the injuries and everything. So new guys are coming. So I'm using classic, you know, FMS, SFMA kind of orthopedic, you know, the movement things, and I observe also. So I check if before the power development, so if the players needs more endurance of the muscles, that means I put more sets and then more reps. But honestly, also not much time. So for this reason, block strategy is generally work. Maybe in just one session, you do some parts of your practices is the basic strength and power developmental, maybe technical things can be, maybe, you know, the biomechanic education can be, whatever, but step by step. I mean, the strength development in one session, and then the power development in the one session, again the same session, muscle endurance at the end of you know, this session, and then every session in a week should complement each other. But every week, like from the first week, for example, the fourth week is a different volume and intensity, but at the same time games are coming up. So as I told you, this individual program, who play, who don't play, you know, I mean, try to do individualized program as possible, you know. But basically, before endurance, strength endurance, I don't pass to power if somebody has to work on more, you know, on it. But in season, generally we have, after we prepared ourselves and everything, we start the games, tapering, and then everybody feel okay. And then in the season, 2 times at least, we have lifting times. Generally, I prefer to work agility and power developmental stuff in the beginning of the warm-up, you know, is this, I mean, with the basketball stuff, after activation, post-activation, I put some drills for quickness and power, and then for the lifting part. So generally I mixed program approaches. Every time I see until now is the good results in short time, because we don't have much time, this 1 month or 2 weeks, this one, and 3 weeks that one, and then power development of the linear periodization. but the block strategy there works, in short time, like in every session between each other, among each other, is developing itself.
So let's first compare the volume of work from pre-season to in-season. When it comes to volume, in the pre-season, how often per week do you try to go for weightlifting, and how long are the sessions?
3 or 4 times in pre-season. 3 or 4 times. I do classic like upper body push, lower body pull, rotational, the things, and power, and then muscle endurance stuff. 4 times is the best for me. Monday and Tuesday, give Wednesday different, the program for regeneration, and then Thursday and Friday, for example. But depends on the game. So if we, in the preparation game, for example, we do a lot, we play a lot. So who didn't play much, so I take them, the more concentrating on these weaknesses, who don't play, who play. And then, but generally 4, and 1 muscle group is, and then 1 movement, the part and slings, and then movement, directions. I work 2 times in a week. And then in season, correctives every day, maybe small correctives before the game, before the practice, but 2 times.
And about duration, 30 minutes, 45 minutes?
45 minutes is, 45 minutes is cool.
So basically the
good
time,
warm-up.
The time of the session is the same in pre-season and in season?
Yes.
You just cut the number of sessions?
Yes. Around just, sometimes I put, for example, 2 times the core exercises in the beginning. So that takes maybe 1 hour and 15 minutes, for lifting. But after the game sometimes, and then if we have game after the day again, so just short time, maybe 30, the 45 minutes, I'm talking about pre-season. Maybe Olympic lifting, and at the same time, there's some strength and power, again, the block strategy. That works. Because it's end of the day, so we are not the power lifters. We are not lifting too much. Because we have to do a lot of things at the same time.
Okay, another thing to compare between pre-season and in-season. The time of the day, and especially how it is related to team practice. When do you lift? When do you do your strength sessions? In pre-season, and when do you do it during the in-season? Do you do it before team practice, after team practice? In pre-season, do you go twice a day, so lifting is only in the morning?
Only in the morning, generally. Actually, for example, depends on as I told you, like the individuals and the team. But the last year, for example, as I told you, like 4 times. But this 4 times is changed. It was changed also, depends on what we do on the court. If I put, for example, some conditioning drills also, I put the different drills in the beginning of the strength. So, but basically 4 times, generally in the morning, It is changing also with conditioning practice and lifting together, generally mixed program, evening basketball. But in season, for every basketball practice, before every basketball practice, we put some mini bench stuff, we put some core exercises and balance and everything with the main lifting. Generally, I care about also, maybe it's a good information also with the young trainers. So one mistake also to doing heavy lift before a basketball practice, especially for lower body. So because I saw also many times, like giving an example, for example, heavy deadlift for the posterior part, you do heavy lifting, and then in the game or in the practice, so you run a lot, and then you have to produce power a lot. So you have to do this, for example, depends on the time in practice, because maybe sometimes doing strength and power for upper body and then basketball practice, maybe you put just 15 minutes, 20 minutes after the basketball practice for lower body power development. I mean, because the more generation time, no risk, especially because they're running a lot, they're jumping a lot. You know, the hamstring issue is every time come up, you know, after you use too much. So this tailored job should be, I mean, not because of you know, you trying to develop the power, for example, but you have to do it in the beginning. No, I mean, because at the end, as I told you, like we are not power lifters. Nobody gives you a medal because of you lift with your maximum. Important thing is you have to think basketball intensity and time, endurance, games, and then your individual situation and stature for the training, and then weaknesses and everything. So you can put before, after. I don't know, today you are too tired, and maybe you see some rigid things, I don't know, some stress. You can come tomorrow. You have to, you know, every time this.
Be very flexible.
Very flexible should be.
I like it because you mentioned, you know, it can, your answer can, to some people it can sound like a complete chaos, but it is exactly a chaos. The only thing is that you are trying to control it as much as you can, and you try to adjust to players who, for example, I have this year only one player who told me that he is not used to do heavy lifts in a way, not like long volume and many reps and I don't know how many sets, just heavy lifts. He doesn't have like the feeling of lifting heavy before he goes to the court, while 95% of the team doesn't care. They feel good, or they feel better if they go heavy lifts. Now, we don't do heavy lifts every day. Sometimes it's only explosive lifts. Sometimes it's like a long core and knees and ankles session. We try to do something every single day, but with different goals, and these goals are related to what we did previously, how we trained, how we played, and what is ahead of us. But as you said, sometimes with many players you can do something before, but it also means that you can do something after, and it doesn't mean that after should only come upper body because we were using legs in team practice and now we are tired. It can also be additional strength work, additional hypertrophy work, and of course additional power work. Now, someone will say, yeah, but after team practice legs are tired, there is no point of developing power, you know, because the legs are not fresh. But this is exactly what we want sometimes. If we tell the player that now we want to work on power while they are fatigued, because this is the power that we are trying to develop for the last 5 minutes of basketball game, then it makes sense that they come after a training session and they do even power work, strength, upper body strength, hypertrophy, whatever. Also, many things depend on the session, because okay, after 2 hours, 2 hours 15 of basketball, which we can see in Europe, some of the coaches will still go 2 hours, 2 hours 15. Well, when players say, hey, I really cannot feel my legs today, you know, and then as you say, you wrote power program for that day, maybe it's better to skip it. But then when you have a chance to work with coaches who respect your periodization, and then you say, coach, today we go max 45 minutes intense but short basketball team practice, then it makes complete sense that after that kind of session that was not so demanding, that was very intense but not that demanding metabolically, that players come to weightlifting room and they do power.
And you know what, actually also think like, okay, for example, after the game, so they are tired, okay, so we want sometimes when they are tired developing power, like during the game, same situation actually. But how much power we want? I mean, is a power lifter, like, for example, I mean, you know, trying to get the gold medal in Olympics, for example, maybe the clean and snatches, like they have to put everything there. But we are trying, especially during the season, we're trying to protect the power endurance. That means a power endurance actually. So sometimes, okay, maybe you don't have to do like a whole program, but when the practice finished, so put some box jump, I don't know, just 10 reps. Even that things that can, you know, keep your power, especially in a shape. I mean, but I don't say, I mean, actually, this is also a very good topic, because you know why? Most of the coaches thinking that the power development in the beginning, and then no, you cannot do that, because if you have protein, you need protein, you have carbohydrates, you need to do energy, you put energy or something. No, just, I mean, the thinking actually, you are understanding year by year this, trying to change your vision from the fitness training, fitness mentality, to the athletic developmental mentality. Because, okay, what I try to say actually, that beginning of the practice, beginning of the basketball practice, if you put let's say maximum, for example, 100 kilogram deadlift that the players can lift. So if you put 100 kilogram of deadlifts beginning of the practice, and then you put the player on the court, want from him jumping, running, cutting, the sprinting, it's a risk. I mean, sometimes you will see also, like end of the practice, they can lift 100 kilo again. So for the strength. Actually, the mentality should be changed. I mean, because for myself, I don't use maximum kilograms, to develop my players. Like every time I feel, because long regeneration time needs. I mean, where is that time? No, we are playing, the games every 2 days, 3 days. I mean, but what I learned also. I was working with Brent Calloway in Exos, and then he told me a long time ago, I remember. So when you turn back whole week, you have to know that the what type of practice you did, and then which muscle group and movement you worked 1 time or 2 times. And if you work, randomly, like, okay, do that, okay, but the end of the week. So when you turn back, I mean, if you don't see that what you did, and then one part you miss your program, at least you have to do it.
Yeah, that's a really nice point. We touched the obstacles that we face during the in-season. You have to adjust to so many different things. I mean, you can say, okay, between Thursday night game and Sunday game, I would like to do this kind of lift, but then it's not home game, on Sunday. You travel to Izmir, or you travel to Gaziantep, or wherever, Ankara, and then you realize you will not have the conditions that you have at home. So even though you would like to hit heavy weights on Saturday morning, the flight is scheduled for Saturday morning, because you will practice on Saturday in the arena away, and then you have a hotel gym that is maybe not that good, which in Turkey is a little bit different, because in Turkey hotels normally offer heavy sets of bars and dumbbells and so on. But as you know, you travel around Europe, it's not the case in France, Italy, Spain. It's always like a small hotel gym with 1 treadmill, 1 bike, and maybe set of dumbbells up to 10 kilos. So it's something that we face on a daily and weekly basis, that we have to adjust. We have to tailor the program as much as we can, and we have to adjust to many obstacles. But it's a challenge, and as you say, it's always nice and interesting to plan programs for our athletes. Now I would like to go one step back, and I didn't want to talk about it before we go through preseason and in-season, but this is going to be the last topic that we're going to touch in the main part, and it's of course related to strength. We go a couple of steps back, and now we will talk a little bit about how you see off-season with your players. And in that sense, I think it's the best that you talk about, for example, FS players that you have under contract for the next season, and they don't have, for example, their private coaches, or you, during the summertime, you work with them here in Istanbul because maybe they stay or they are from Istanbul. How do you organize the off-season, and how it's different from pre-season and in-season?
Actually, as I told, so in the beginning, the season is over. So at least 10 days do nothing, because the nervous system, the tiredness, and then the muscles, regeneration, everything, healing actually. But then what we want just trying to, the keep their shape with the basic lifting and then running. So nothing else. But there's most of them also going to the national teams. They're working also with the PTs. So especially it is also changing for young players, and then it's also changing for older players, because especially all players, especially in certain age, they don't have that type of program, lifting heavy, the developing themselves. No, just care about diet and nutrition is very important, whole summer, and then pre-season, and then the basic program that follow, keep their strength and power. It takes just around 1.5 months, like 6 weeks around, and then of course, just I don't put a program, and just I don't make them do like a heavy program in the summertime also, because imagine that they are coming to the camp, and then we are again just start from the beginning. It's like up and down, intensity and volume that you cannot control. Just the basic things: upper body push, lower body pull, rotational endurance and everything in one base, maybe like 60%, 65% of their max, trying to keep them in the shape. And maybe the most exercises about the postural exercises, mostly core, because I'm sure that you agree also, but all season they have small injuries, the big injuries, and then this recovery is very good time, with the summertime, because concentrating more on postural things, the movement stuff and basic strength and basic conditioning. And then when they come, it's individualization, and then this team program starts. Mm-hmm. And then in season, so you try to keep them in that shape. Mm-hmm. Classic.
Okay, so how many times per week normally do you suggest players to go and work out in the gym during the off season?
For me, every day. But the thing is just how portion you do, the micro dose, actually, like for correctives, for strength, and for everything. But who is not playing much, at least 3 times, 4 times they have to do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And also some cases in my career, I saw like a lot of good players, NBA players, they came to the team. So when you work with them 2 times, 3 times in a week, maybe 4 times, even you work less, you work with the light loads, their body is getting heavier and slower. You know what I mean? Because it's also about the metabolism, and this is how you react. Because some players, they react well when you lift heavy, you do power development and everything. You see on the court. But some of them, especially even microdose you use, but some of them, their body is more maybe FT fibers, I don't know the analysis that you're gonna see, but their body is getting more slower. So you have to also analyze this one. The players who is powerful from the nature, that if you put a lot, it is, make them slower, nothing else. They are not jumping, they are not cutting. You have to do this. Maybe for that kind of players, like 2 times is enough with the games, Again, individualization. So some players, doing every day. They need more endurance. They need more, like between 2 and 4, mm-hmm. changing.
Mm-hmm. So, if I tell you to summarize a little bit your thoughts, and you have to give the final advice to strength coaches, what to do and what not to do, or what to avoid regarding strength and power development, what would you say?
The first what I thought, actually, this advice is fitness and the topics, training topics about this training science and everything is far from the human movement and this athletic-based developmental program. So in the beginning, as I said, don't take the methods and everything when you see directly. So analyze, the cuts your dress fits on your players. I mean, so it's very important because it's not everything strength, it's not everything power, it's not everything movement. You have to put every fruit to your basket. I mean, is the which one is less or more? It depends on your player. So you have to think every time this one, individualization, and then concentrating more athletic-based program, not just fitness and lifting. I mean, and then reading a lot about these principles.
Bro, I perfectly like it. Before we finish, a couple of minutes of rapid-fire questions.
Hard questions?
Normally, no, it's gonna be easy.
Don't
so
ask
the first
me about
one,
this
the
coach
first one,
and
normally,
teams.
normally we don't mention names, especially not in a bad way, in a bad sense. I never ask about bad experiences and naming players, but then on the other hand, I like to acknowledge some of the names that are worth mentioning. So for example, first rapid fire question would be, who is the first player that comes up to your mind when it comes to like hard working habits?
Ersan İlyasova, I worked in national team. I knew him actually, when I was young also. But he's a different kind of machine, he worked a lot. Even at their home, I know. In that moment also, we were working in national team together. So every time, before the practice, after the practice, in the room of the hotels, it's like a crazy. And now the first I remember this one, but normally also I learned and I met also after. Doğuş Balbay is in our team, is talented as a athletically, his genes are is very good, genetic are very good, is very good, but just also he's a hard worker. Before, after, every day, every moment, it's crazy. Is when he's going to vacation, on the pedals, on the sea, with the pedals, like everything, as he's working there, yoga on the the board, surfboard. I don't know. He's crazy.
I like it.
Doğuş Balbay also.
Yeah, I heard about him that he is very, very hard worker. So nice. When you have to choose one strength and power exercise for basketball players, not for yourself, for basketball players, what would it be? One exercise.
Sorry, can you ask again? Because I was thinking some other players too who is hard working.
No,
in our
it's
team
always
now.
a good question.
They will listen this one. Okay, now.
So your favorite strength and power exercise for basketball players?
Okay, this is a very good question. Let me think about it. I think single leg RDL is my best exercise because. Okay, the deadlift. So single leg RDL, single leg Romanian deadlift. I a little bit modified that exercises. Kneeling a little bit much more than straight leg, and then involving the hip more activated. But single leg RDL is my favorite exercise. One of them.
Wow. Makes sense. When we talk about future of EuroLeague basketball and European teams, what do you see as something that could drastically change or improve physical performance?
Actually, we can say this is for basketball, just not only EuroLeague and NBA something. Actually, the basketball is getting, as I see, from physically part is more the talented part, because for example, we were doing lifting long time ago also, but the thing is, actually we were doing fitness. That's the point, because in years, in centuries, not centuries, maybe decades, but you see the developmental, they're physically strong, but at the same time, movement development and nervous system development, proprioception, balance, power is more clear and more fluent, in this age. So for this reason, we see also in NBA, in EuroLeague, a lot of, the fast, talented, versatile, the players we see. Mm-hmm. Because, just giving an example, like long time ago, the people doing the bench press strong, maybe we do now, but also we modify the exercise from single leg, rotational push. We developed also the exercises. So is this basketball is also from our side, and from basketball side is more talented, mm-hmm. more versatile, mm-hmm. more, hard to predict the movements,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
quick.
For your team and the players that you coach, what is the recovery method number one that you always mention to them?
Off days. Hey, basketball coaches giving sometimes, off days is very important for restore, everything in recovery. I think the first rule is you have to know where you're going to. After, for example, you pass the threshold, no matter you do, the recovery is not work. So it makes sense, because a lot of workout, a lot of training, no programming, randomly, the endurance loading, and then the people getting overused and then overtraining. So after that moment, you cannot do anything. The first rule is periodization. It's very important when to rest, when to work. Second one, actually, is a tool of recovery. So I see that cold tub really working good, very good. Cold, hot, this regeneration stuff, Mm-hmm. I'm not counting stretching, flexibility and stuff, because it must be. It is in your basic program. It's not the recovery program, actually, that it has to be there. It has to be mobile, and then flexible muscles that your players has to. But the recovery method is the cold tub massage is the best after good periodization program. Because also you have to care about this regeneration, running, regeneration, low intensity, recovery exercises like running. And also sometimes you cannot do, mm-hmm. because it's better to rest, do nothing. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For me, is also in my philosophy. I'm not recommend to everyone. It also depends on the person to person, depends on the age. You cannot, for example, do, for example, very hard week, a lot of games, a lot of practices. Your player, for example, 30 years old. You cannot say that hi, now is, come on, going 30 minutes aerobic running for regeneration. Come on. It's totally off. Good stretching, massaging, cold tub works better, mm-hmm. for that player. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying for other player may be different,
Mm-hmm. Bro.
Different playing time, different,
Bro, your favorite book?
My favorite book. The first one was NSCA, CSCA, Strength and Conditioning Essentials. The second one is The Movement, Gray Cook.
So you still stay with the best book? Because 10 years ago I asked you.
The same. Still I'm breathing. A lot of books actually I read. I also like that subtle leopard from that guy is also amazing, I like that book too.
Everyone think that Kelly's book, Supple Leopard, is about mobility because he was the mobility guy. But once you open the book, you realize that it's a book about many things regarding strength and conditioning. Regarding strength, it has some of the basic principles that is a Bible, a little Bible of strength, and how to use your body when you're lifting heavy weights on the bar, how to use dumbbells, how to use rings, how to use your own body when it comes to strength development. So I think it's a great book. I'm happy that you mentioned it.
Yeah, I like those kind of books also. But when I first met with these books, it was actually surprising, and then I love much, But at a certain moment, I started reading this kind of books. I learned this muscle slings and movement patterns and everything, step by step, injuries. But then, and also it's a very good actually advice for the young coaches, because to have that kind of knowledge, if you stay and focus on too much about these things, like injuries, patterns, movement patterns, remodeling things and everything, like you are a little bit out of your main focus actually, what is a sport performance. That means, for example, I saw the players in many years, like they are centers, they have to produce power, they have to pinning movement, they're fighting, they're contact, but every time proprioceptional exercises, kind of protective and corrective exercises, they lose their power and strength. So read, okay, to know more, because also you work with injured players, but you have to decide. Which side you have to be. You are the guy like maybe as an athletic trainer, like working and then making bridge, between the performance and an injury. Or there's also you have to give a performance.
Mm-hmm.
So in United States, I know also a lot of athletic trainers. They study sports, they study medical, and then they're making bridge. They're sending us players after injury. But here in Europe and also Turkey, we are taking the players directly from the physios and doctors, normally.
Mm-hmm.
If one guy between, for example, know the medicine and then also do these corrective things and then send you after that, so you focus on power and strength and everything. But now, we have to develop also ourselves about this part a little bit. Power is good for you to understand, but also very good advice also where you have to stop. Because you cannot medicate the people, you cannot make a treatment, You can show exercises, you can focus on performance, but the pathology is very different, so you have to understand also that world, a little bit. For this reason, I like this, the movement, Kelly started book, kind of things also. It's huge development in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
In the science, huge.
Yeah. Before we finish, I have 2 questions, very, very simple. One is salty, one is sweet. So you have to choose between Adana kebab or Iskender kebab. Which one do you take?
Directly Iskender kebab.
Okay, bravo. And the last one is, do you go with good baklava or good chocolate cake?
Actually, I'm not a baklava guy. Yeah.
So chocolate
cake. Yeah, is better. Maybe San Sebastian cheesecake.
Okay.
Kind of, I'm that guy, I'm not like a lot of sugar is too much,
Bravo. Okay. Guys, as I told you, now you see why I was waiting for this interview for a long, long time. We can learn a lot from Ozan, and I hope that you learned something a little bit from today, and as me, you got motivated to read more, to explore more, and to always question your methods and the ways you're working with the athletes. Until the next episode, stay well. Tonight we're going to enjoy our game because we are both qualified for the playoffs, so we can enjoy one game without normal pressure that we have during the EuroLeague season. So let's have fun, and thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you very much. Very good to speak with you, being here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Baba.
All right.
See you guys.
Ciao. See you. Ciao.